People ask sometimes, are trucking accidents different from other cases? And the answer is always, I think it depends. Sometimes not very much. You do have the occasional run-of-the-mill type case. If it's a relatively low damages type case, a relatively straightforward case, truck driver makes a mistake, there's a wreck. It's not that different, frankly, than car wreck cases. On the other end of the spectrum, you have cases where they're vastly different. Obviously, any case involving a truck is going to be different from the start because it's usually going to be much heavier than any other type of vehicle on the road. This, always raises the chance for increased damages or increases the severity of the accident. The other thing is that unlike a typical car crash, with a truck wreck, you're dealing with a professional driver who's driving a much more complex type machine. And sometimes the actions of the driver may not always be clear to somebody who's just more used to driving a car or dealing with vehicular wrecks. There's certain standards that apply to truck drivers that don't apply to vehicle drivers, as well as just the nature of the equipment is different in terms of handling it and what's responsible. Obviously, they don't brake, they don't respond the same way that cars do. And so depending on the situation, those factors can become very important in a case. The other thing that makes it a little bit different is that you have different insurance policies, different insurance limits that can affect how a case goes, as well as various things that an attorney needs to look into, at least in certain kinds of cases, particularly those with severe injuries, where you need to look into what the driver has been doing. You need to find out if they've been following those rules that are meant to keep us safe and prevent those types of accidents. There are definitely some salt-of-the-earth truck drivers who follow the rules and do everything right. We've represented a lot of truck drivers in cases who have been either hurt in accidents or had some other type of case. And so I have nothing but respect for the great majority of truck drivers. Unfortunately, the reality is that there are some companies out there that put drivers on the road who simply shouldn't be. And we've handled those cases as well, where we've had to look into it and find out what the underlying reason for the wreck was, whether it was a driver who had a medical issue that they were hiding either from their employer or from the DOT in an effort to keep driving when they shouldn't be, or truck drivers that have, we've had cases involving truck drivers who just flagrantly disregard the rules in terms of hours of service. And we know from the data that fatigue is one of the largest cause of accidents, as well as distracted driving. You see that as well. And you see a lot of trucking companies that put pressure on drivers to keep driving at all costs. And so when you get a case like that, I think that the important thing is to know, to be able to look for those types of issues, try and spot them early on. It doesn't make sense in every truck wreck case to spend a client's money pursuing those types of things when they may or may not be an issue. But after you've been doing this for a while, you start to spot the signs, and both in terms of looking at the wreck, looking at other evidence, looking at how a trucking defendant responds to a case, and realize whether it's a case where there might be something going on there that needs to be explored further.